Hello and welcome to our midday briefing online and live on EBS. Today is Tuesday, the 13th of July, and I'm glad to see that slowly but surely numbers in the press room are increasing. The meeting of the heads of cabinet is still ongoing, so I am not in a position to share the final agenda of tomorrow's college meeting and information about press events with you at this point in time. We will, of course, share this information with you this afternoon through our usual channels once the meeting is finalized. Let me remind you that if you want to physically come to the press room tomorrow to attend the press events following the college meeting, you need to register by this afternoon 5 p.m. based on the message which was sent yesterday end of the afternoon. We had a tally of, I think, above 50 people who had already registered, so we have around 20 or less places left at this point in time. You will find the link to register in the message that we sent you yesterday, as I said, and also in today's agenda notification. But of course, if you want to follow the events remotely, you can do so without needing to register. Puis, je vous rappelle que le vice-président exécutif Valdis Dombrovskis, le commissaire Paolo Gentiloni et la commissaire Mairead McGuinness représentent la Commission lors de la réunion des ministres de l'économie et des finances qui se tient aujourd'hui de l'autre côté de la rue. Les ministres discuteront de la relance économique, de la mise en œuvre de la facilité pour la reprise et la résilience et adopteront la première série de décisions d'exécution du Conseil relatives au plan des États membres pour la reprise et la résilience. Une conférence de presse avec le vice-président exécutif Dombrovskis aura lieu vers 13h45 et je vous invite donc à adresser vos questions sur les affaires économiques à cette conférence de presse. Voilà, avec ceci, nous sommes prêts à passer à vos questions. Et je passe la parole à Marina. Marina, you are connected. Go ahead.
Thanks, Eric. I have a question for Peter, if it's possible. It's regarding the dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina. We had Mr. Borrell announced it last month that it will be till the end of this month. So is there any new information regarding this? And if there is, I wanted to know, is there any kind of progress made during this technical dialogue that we had last week? So this new high-level meeting can be possible during this month still. Thank you.
Peter.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Marina. Well, there is progress because the fact that these meetings continue is a sign of the progress. We are progressing from one meeting to another. And indeed, I can confirm that, as indicated by High Representative, there will be a high-level meeting between Serbian Prime Minister Aleksandar Vučić and Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti this month. In fact, it will be next Monday, Monday the 19th. The High Representative Borrell will host another round of high-level meeting in the framework of the dialogue between Pristina and Belgrade, supported by EUSR Miroslav Lajčák. And this high-level dialogue meeting will focus on discussing the progress achieved until now, discussing the next steps and the way forward in the dialogue, which is, as you know, very important for the European perspective of both Kosovo and Serbia.
Thank you, Peter. Marina, you have a follow-up.
Follow-up, Peter. Is there any assurance for the High Rep or Mr. Lajčák that this new round of the high-level dialogue won't finish like the last time without any kind of progress or any kind of, as the both sides said, any kind of mutual understanding?
Well, the meetings are part of the process which is ongoing, and the process is focused on achieving mutually agreeable, legally binding, comprehensive agreement on the normalization of relations between Kosovo and Serbia. And every meeting we are organizing and facilitating as the European Union between the representatives of Kosovo and Serbia is getting us a little bit closer in the process. There is no regress, that's important. And since this is a progress, it's not up to me to comment on individual stages and meetings of this process, because you should see the overall context and the overall goal to which we are hopefully advancing, and to which all these meetings are aiming to bring both parties closer to find the mutually agreeable consensus and compromise, a necessary compromise, to reach the comprehensive legally binding agreement on the normalization of the relations.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions for Peter today? Yes, please.
Khalid Hamid Farooqi from Geo Television News. My questions regarding Afghanistan and advancement of Taliban till Ghazni outskirt, which is 149 kilometers from Kabul. Are you considering to withdraw your development work staff and the mission from Kabul?
Thank you, Khalid. Well, the issue of Afghanistan and the latest developments in Afghanistan have been discussed yesterday by the foreign ministers at their regular Foreign Affairs Council, and the High Representative said that, of course, we are concerned by the military advances made by Taliban. The ministers called on Taliban to engage in the nationwide peace process and dialogue on settling the conflict and allowing Afghanistan to finally embark on peaceful development. And what is very important is that HRVP, the High Representative, stressed also that we stand by people of Afghanistan. And we are determined to continue our support, our assistance to the people of Afghanistan. And at this stage, we are not considering to withdraw our staff working on development assistance, because this is the reason why we are there. We want to help them to develop further, to go through this difficult time. So we hope that the peace process will advance, and it will not be necessary to withdraw our staff either from Kabul or from other parts of the country.
Thank you very much. Are there other questions for Peter on Afghanistan? I will ask you in the Interactio press room to only keep your hand raised if you have a question on Afghanistan for the moment. If not, please unraise your hand. And I see that Ingrid Steiner has a question, but has a problem. She typed it, okay. I will read out the question from Ingrid. Are there any preparations on the EU side on how to handle the coming influx of refugees from Afghanistan? Peter, or perhaps afterwards Adalbert as well. Go ahead.
On this, thank you. On this, High Representative was also very clear that our efforts currently are focused on preventing any influx. That means engaging as much as we can as European Union, together with our partners, international partners and regional partners, to avoid such situations that would force people to leave en masse, that would create really massive influxes of or massive streams of migrants. So all our activities, all our efforts are really focused on preventing this, and that's why such a strong engagement, and that's why also the discussions among the member states of the EU about EU's contribution, possible contribution towards the stabilization on Afghanistan, especially in the aftermath of the withdrawal of the Western military forces from the country.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, I move to Ricard, a question on Afghanistan.
Sorry, it's for Peter, but not on Afghanistan. Sorry about that.
Let's see if there are other questions on Afghanistan. Patricia? Patricia. Okay, no answer from Patricia. Noureddin, question on Afghanistan.
It's not Afghanistan. It's about something else.
You guys need to help me. I'm a very, very patient guy, but we really have to get this midday briefing under control. So please help me by unraising your hand and only raising it when we are discussing the topic that interests you. Susanna, a question on Afghanistan? Okay, well, if it's no, please unraise your hand. I'm really going to start being quite strict on this, because if not, I simply cannot manage both the press room and the Interaxio press room. So please unraise your hands. Anybody who does not have a question on foreign affairs. Susanna says her hand is not raised, but okay. So we go back to Ricard, who has a question on another foreign affairs issue. Ricard, go ahead.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hello, Peter. Turning to Georgia now, I know that you have commented locally on this, but I wonder if you have any more comments about what's going on in Georgia for the last few days, especially the attack on the Tbilisi Pride. And now we've seen that one of the cameramans that covered the event died. Of course, we don't know yet if it was as a direct consequence of the beatings he got a few days ago or not. And I'm asking if this actually will have any consequences for EU-Georgia relations. I mean, you published, I think, 2 weeks ago now, or 1 week ago actually, your proposal for the Eastern Partnership Summit coming up, including lots of money going to Georgia, I believe several millions of euros. So can this affect these money that you're proposing right now?
Thank you, Ricard. Of course, it is very, very unfortunate what we have seen in Georgia happening over the last few days, especially the death of the cameraman. That's why it's important that the circumstances of his death are clearly, transparently, and independently investigated. We understand that the authorities started the investigation, so it's really important to clarify in a transparent manner what happened. And when it comes to the very unfortunate events related to Pride Parade in Tbilisi, we were very clear already with our statements saying that the rights and freedoms of people belonging to minorities have to be guaranteed and respected, and that that this is a role of the government to provide such respect and protection. So this, of course, is all taken into account in our ongoing assessment of the cooperation with Georgia. Georgia is very closely associated with the European Union through the association agreement, and we have regular reviews and regular dialogue. So all these issues, all these developments are feeding into this dialogue, and all these issues are being mentioned and taken up by the European Union, because in the end, Georgia itself declared and committed to advancing of European values, because this is something, this is a joint basis basically on which we are working. So fundamental rights and freedoms of people, regardless whether they belong to a minority or to an ethnic group, to a language group, to national group, or to gender or to sexual minority, rights and freedoms of these people have to be guaranteed, protected, and upheld.
Thank you, Peter. I see we have 2 other questions on 2 other foreign affairs issues. I will start with Noureddin. Noureddin, go ahead.
On the talks between Mr. Borrell and Mr. Sameh Shoukry, the Egyptian Foreign Minister. Peter, what is the European Union message conveyed to the Egyptian minister this morning regarding, of course, the Renaissance Dam crisis? And more specifically, will European Union boost its diplomatic efforts to be more active in dealing with this crisis, because it's happening in a region which is not very far from the Mediterranean region, very close to the Sahel region, with its huge security impact to the European Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noureddin. High Representative said already yesterday that we are following this issue very closely, and we are interested in seeing a solution that would be mutually agreeable to all the parties involved and all the countries affected. This is the great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is something that is high on our agenda. It was, of course, discussed during today's meeting between High Representative Borrell and Foreign Minister Shoukry. High Representative recalled the position of the European Union that the only way to solve this is in dialogue and in engagement. and he repeated the concerns of the European Union related to the second filling by Ethiopia of the Grand Renaissance Dam. And he stressed that also we continue to support the efforts led by African Union in order to bring the countries to re-engaging in the dialogue with the view of finding an agreement here. It's very important. And the EU is not part of the problem or part of the issue. We are an observer here. So as an observer, we are really supporting the African Union-led efforts in this issue. We are also consulting with international partners, with UN, with the United States and other like-minded partners. And we said very clearly that we stand ready to increase our engagement and role if this is desirable to all the parties involved, because European Union has a lot of experience with water management, but also with solving regional issues to the mutual benefit based on the win-win principle. So this is the position of the European Union, which was conveyed to the Egyptian foreign minister. By the way, this was not a one-off event. They are in touch regularly with High Representative. And this is also the position we are conveying to the partners in Sudan, in Ethiopia, and in all international fora. So full support for African Union-led efforts. Our calls on all involved parties to try to solve this issue in a dialogue based on an agreement, and us being ready to step up efforts if desirable by all involved parties.
Thank you. Patrizia, I think you have a question on the same issue.
Hello, can
Yes.
you hear me now?
Yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
perfect. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Peter. I would like to know whether the High Representative will raise the issue of Patrick Zaki, the student that is being kept in jail for 1 year now. Our Foreign Minister Di Maio has asked for the Europe to step in this issue. So I would like to know if this will be raised today. Thank you.
The meeting has already taken place, so it's over. We will issue a more comprehensive press release about the content of the meeting. I can tell you that the issue of Patrick Zaki and the issue of human rights in general is one of the topics which we are raising with the Egyptian partners. And the issue of Patrick Zaki is one of those which are brought on the table at appropriate levels constantly during our engagements with Egyptian partners when we are talking on human rights.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there other questions on foreign affairs? David, tu as levé la main sur Interaction.
Yes, just a brief follow-up. Thank you, Eric. Just a brief follow-up. Is the foreign minister the appropriate level to discuss it? I mean, the question of Patrizia was clear. Did Borrell discuss it today with the Egyptian foreign minister? Thank you.
Well, again, we will issue a press release that will outline all the information that we can and won't share about the content of the meeting. I can stress that this issue of Patrick Zaki is regularly raised and brought to the attention of Egyptian partners at appropriate level, not on one occasion, but on repeated occasions. I can confirm that the High Representative with Foreign Minister Shukri discussed the issue of human rights. The HRVP recalled and reiterated the position of the European Union when it comes to fundamental values and expressed concern about the application of the death penalty in Egypt in particular. And this is all I can say at this stage.
Thank you. Are there other questions on foreign affairs? Not in the room. On Interactio, Mira, you have raised your hand.
Do you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. It's a question on Cuba. I sent Peter an email today. Can we expect something more besides the statement from Mr. Borrell yesterday? Thank you.
Well, the question is like, what do you mean about something more? I mean, we hope that we will see more freedom and more liberty for people in Cuba, and also more prosperity, because the protests that erupted on Sunday seem to be fueled especially by the popular discontent about the lack of food, lack of medicine, and the general situation on the island. So whenever it will be necessary to react or to undertake any action in relation to the developments, the European Union will. High Representative said already yesterday that we are following this very closely. We are appealing on the Cuban authorities to listen to their people, to the population, to their grievances, and reiterating the right and our support for the right of people to demonstrate peacefully and express their opinions in a peaceful way. So we keep watching the developments in Cuba, and we will be reacting as the events will require it.
Thank you. Mira, you still have your hand raised? No. Okay. So, Momchil, a question on foreign affairs.
Yes, and it's on Cuba also. But can we expect a change in the EU policy, taking into account that the EU is against the embargo until now, at least until now? And can we expect change of the EU policy, taking into account that a lot of people have been arrested, including yesterday was arrested Mr. Guillermo Fariñas, who is laureate of the Sakharov Prize of the European Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Momchil. Indeed, we are aware about the reports on arrests, not only of opposition people, activists, but also journalists. This is absolutely not acceptable. These people have, the place for these people is not in prison, but in a public discourse. So we call on the Cuban authorities to release immediately all the detainees, all the people who have been detained based on their political conviction, and based on their journalistic work. So they need to be able to express their views, and in case of journalists, they need to be able to do their work without any limitations and obstructions. When it comes to the position of the EU, you know that the positions of the European Union are agreed by unanimity among the member states. So when the situation will require to change the current position, then the member states will discuss and decide. Just one remark on the margins. Well, the embargo will probably not solve the hard situation of the people who are facing shortages of food and medicine.
Thank you. Are there other questions on foreign affairs? Hans, a question for Peter.
Yes, thank you. This is Hans Müller-Burchert with Politico. I hope that, yeah, now you see me. And it's also in Cuba, indeed. Peter, you just mentioned now that these arrests are unacceptable and that you call on Cuban authorities to release the detained. So will the High Representative also make a statement on this, or will he also speak to counterparts in Cuba to convey this message? Thank you.
Well, these messages are very clear and they are very well known. They've been said already a number of times, I mean, from this place, from the High Representative himself, from the foreign ministers of the member states. The issue was mentioned yesterday, issue of Cuba was mentioned yesterday in the FAC in terms of noting what is going on and seeing the further development. So the EU continues monitoring the developments, and at the same time we are continuing also our dialogue with the authorities, and the public call by the High Representative Borrell yesterday on the authorities is one of the examples that he doesn't hesitate to make a call when it's necessary, either in form of a public statement or literally a phone call to the counterparts. So based on the need and based on the development of the situation, of course there will be further engagement at an appropriate level coming from the European Union towards the Cuban authorities.
Thank you, Peter. I see no further questions on foreign affairs.
Can I add one thing?
You want to add something? Go ahead.
Since we had such a broad to the horizon on foreign affairs, I would like to say a couple of words about what is going on in Albania currently, because there seems to be a campaign directed against the head of delegation of the European Union in Tirana. And I have to say that the allegations and initiatives by the Alliance for the Protection of the Theatre in Albania brought against the head of delegation in Albania are baseless and defamatory. Ambassador Soreka, our head of delegation, has full and unwavering support and confidence by the top leaders of the European Commission and the EAS for the great work he is doing on the ground in the interest of the EU-Albania relations, and in the interest of Albanian people. We are continuing strongly to support the justice reform in Albania, and we call on all state and non-state actors in the country to support the continued implementation of the reforms of the judiciary. Because the enormous efforts of Albania in pursuing judicial reform and vetting of the judiciary are already yielding first tangible results, and they cannot be derailed or slowed down. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Okay, we close the Foreign Affairs chapter and move on to other issues. Are there other questions for us today? Gardenia. I think it's you behind the mask.
Yeah, I can remove it.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Gardenia Trezzini, Euronews. We would like to know if there is any update on the Hungarian recovery plan, which seems to be in a limbo. It hasn't been approved nor rejected. Is there an official extension of the deadline or any other news?
No, thank you, Gardenia. There is no news since yesterday. What we said yesterday here on the podium remains perfectly valid. The assessment and the dialogue with the Hungarian authorities continues today as it did yesterday. Any other questions for us today on national recovery plans? But just bearing in mind the fact that we actually have a press conference on this in the council this afternoon. Okay, Susanna, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Eric, to insist. I know that we are supposed to ask these questions to the press conference, but maybe you can help already, since I have to write about this before noon. Do you have any idea if after the green light, the approval of the plans today, the Commission already has a date for the first disbursements, and if it will be possible to already to disburse the entire amount, or the Commission will have to go pro rata? Thank you.
Thank you. A question for Balázs.
Susanna, indeed, so let's have a look at the state of play. As for the RRF, if Marta was here, she would tell you, she would remind you of the procedure, which has been repeated many times. So there's a council approval, after which we still need to have the signature of the financing and the loan agreements. And important to bear in mind that in different member states, this might take a different amount of time. But in principle, it is expected that possibly by the end of July, we could get there with the first member states. So all the criteria can be filled by then with certain member states under the RRF, which means that the Commission has absolutely no reason not to start carrying out the first disbursements under the RRF. Now, I think it's important to recall that already under NextGen EU, we've raised 35 billion euro. We were able to do so in June, given the fact that the ORD ratification process was carried out at a very high speed. So that gave us the opportunity to already go to the market last month. Perhaps I should add that today is the third issuance under Next Generation EU. We will be coming out with the details of this transaction in the course of the afternoon. So I think in general I can say that we are pretty confident in our ability to raise the funds needed and basically carry out the disbursements under the RRF starting from the end of July. And then same applies to the pre-financing. I think we are in a very good position, and we will do everything we can to disburse the funds needed to the member states concerned.
Susanna, you have a follow-up? No? Oh.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. With this third issuance that you were mentioning, it will be enough for the 12 plans approved today, or you are also including, or are you already including the 4 plans that are also supposed to be approved by the end of July by the Council? And if I may, a quick follow-up as well. Do you think it will also be possible to have the first disbursement based on the milestones and targets before the end of 2021? Do you have anything new on that? Thank you.
My remarks today would be of more general nature, to be fair. So I think it's important to recall that you count the 2-month period for pre-financing from the moment when the financing and the loan agreements are signed. So as I said, with the first member states, this could occur around the end of July, and then from then we have a period of 2 months to carry out the pre-financing transactions. I wouldn't have any further details, but what I could say at this point in time is that overall we are confident that we can serve all the pre-financing needs in this 2 month window. Obviously, in the coming days there will be more details, but I don't have specific details on the timing of the exact timing of the first transactions. But again, more details will emerge in the coming days.
Yes, thanks. And Susanne, I think your second question you will have to address to the Executive Vice President during the press conference later today. All right, I see no further hand raised either in the room or on Interaxio on this issue. Let's move on to other issues. And I believe I saw Quentin.
Oui, bonjour Eric, est-ce que tu m'entends?
Oui, vas-y.
Oui, super. C'était pour revenir sur la question de la Hongrie, donc par rapport à hier, par rapport à la consultation du gouvernement hongrois, on pourrait qualifier d'anti-européenne. Maintenant, allô?
Quelqu'un ne voulait pas
Est-ce que c'est bon, je suis revenu ou pas?
Oui, tu es revenu, vas-y.
Oui, tu es revenu, vas-y. Super. Oui, donc est-ce que par rapport à hier, tu as pu le temps de parler à la présidente, aux services concernés sur la consultation hongroise qui semblerait-il se plaint encore des activités et des actions européennes? Et est-ce que la Commission européenne va répondre comme elle a fait dans le passé avec la présidence de M. Juncker à cette consultation?
Mais je dois gérer la salle de presse aussi. D'abord, une clarification, Quentin. Sauf erreur de ma part, la question à laquelle je répondais hier ne concernait pas la consultation en tant que telle, mais la campagne sur les réseaux sociaux qui, visiblement, accompagne la consultation. Sur la consultation elle-même, Christian a déjà donné notre réponse vendredi, mais il va pouvoir la répéter ici. En ce qui concerne la présidente de la commission, comme tu peux t'imaginer, en ce moment, elle est assez prise par la préparation du collège de demain et du paquet Fit for 55. Mais sur la consultation, qui est, je crois, le véritable propos ici, je passe la parole à Christian.
Oui, merci Eric, merci Quentin pour la question qui me permet de répéter ce que j'ai en fait déjà clarifié, je pense, la semaine dernière. Alors, si tu me permets, je vais dire quelques mots en anglais. In any democracy, it is good that citizens are consulted. We regularly ourselves conduct public consultations. They always include multiple choice and give a possibility of free response. Consultations are important for citizens to be able to have a say on issues that matter to them. However, such consultations must be based on correct information and facts, not on insinuations or even beyond that, spread disinformation. This is why, where the European Union is concerned, the Commission will always be relentless in making sure that information provided to the public about EU policy is correct. So with regard to the Hungarian national consultation concretely, for example, what I can say on the environment questions, together we need to make sure that the cost is carried fairly in society. The right of parents to educate children is undisputed. What the EU cannot agree to is discrimination. We believe in a Europe which embraces diversity, which we have made very clear in recent days and weeks. On migration, this is a common European issue which we need to work on together. The Commission presented a new pact on migration and asylum in September last year, which takes a comprehensive approach that fully involves all national governments. We expect all our member states to uphold and apply our shared values and to respect their legal obligations. Alors voilà, ça c'est notre réponse, si tu veux, généralement sur la consultation, mais aussi sur quelques éléments qu'on trouve dans cette consultation.
Merci. Y a-t-il d'autres questions sur ce sujet? Lawrence, you have your hand raised. Is it on this consultation?
That was given to Quentin's question. I mean, why not? I mean, instead of kind of this list of positives about consulting the citizens, why not just say what you clearly believe? This is a disinformation campaign, nothing more, nothing less.
Well, I believe that we have said what we have to say. Lawrence, we will not have anything to add on this issue at this stage. Are there other questions for us today? Thomas, yeah, go ahead.
Oui, merci. D'abord, je m'excuse, mais pour expliquer une chose que les gens online n'ont pas vue, je voulais m'approcher pour vérifier que la question que j'allais poser n'avait pas déjà été répondue. Je ne savais pas qu'en fait nous sommes ensemble, mais il y a un petit mur de Berlin qui nous empêche d'être complètement ensemble. C'est important parce que c'est une des raisons pour être ici physiquement, c'est justement le off the record. Bon, c'est une question pour Stéphane et je m'excuse si elle a déjà répondu à ça dans les jours passés. Comme Merkel est en train de déclarer qu'il n'est pas nécessaire de rendre le vaccin obligatoire, j'ai oublié si la Commission européenne a une position sur l'obligatoriété, sur l'obligation ou pas de se vacciner. D'accord, pas d'accord ou pas de position. Merci.
Sur le caractère obligatoire de
la vaccination. Sur le caractère obligatoire,
oui,
exactement.
Stéphane.
Merci beaucoup pour la question. La réponse très simple, c'est que les campagnes de vaccination relèvent de la compétence des États membres. Et donc la question de savoir si oui ou non une vaccination doit être obligatoire ou pas, c'est une question à laquelle l'État membre doit trouver une réponse. C'est une décision à prendre par les États membres. Ceci étant dit, évidemment, nous avons toujours souligné qu'il est très important que nous continuons à vacciner les citoyens parce que, encore une fois, la vaccination, c'est le meilleur chemin vers l'exit, je dirais, de cette pandémie et c'est spécifiquement important pour les populations vulnérables qui ont le plus de risques d'attraper le virus ainsi que les variantes. Et donc, encore une fois, pour nous, il est très important que nous continuions les campagnes de vaccination. Nous pensons que l'objectif de 70% pourra être atteint parce qu'un nombre suffisant de doses a été livré. Mais encore une fois, c'est aux États membres de bien assurer cette vaccination. Mais je répète que la décision finale relève des compétences nationales. Merci.
Merci. Y a-t-il d'autres questions dans le domaine de la vaccination et de la santé pour Stéphane? David, je vois que tu as levé ta main.
Oui, merci. Oui, deux questions sur deux thèmes différents. Le premier, c'est une sorte de follow-up après les annonces qui ont été faites par le président français Emmanuel Macron, mais en partie aussi par d'autres gouvernements comme celui grec. Est-ce que la Commission est favorable à rendre la vaccination pas obligatoire, mais indispensable en quelque sorte pour des activités comme aller au restaurant, prendre un avion, etc. Ou en tout cas l'utilisation du certificat Covid ou le pass sanitaire, comme on dit en France, pour pouvoir avoir accès à ces services. Deuxième question, c'est à propos des données que vous publiez ce matin. Vous avez dit 50% de la population adulte a été vaccinée complètement dans l'Union européenne. La présidente samedi a annoncé que 70%, que les États membres ont reçu 70% de doses suffisantes pour vacciner 70% de la population. Je regarde les données de l'ECDC et je ne comprends pas si vous anticipez en quelque sorte ces données, si vous faites des annonces avec quelques jours d'avance ou si c'est un retard de l'ECDC, parce que ça ne correspond pas en fait. Merci.
Merci. Stéphane.
Oui, sur la première question, je ne pense pas que je vais pouvoir ajouter plus à ce que je viens de dire. La décision de procéder à des vaccinations obligatoires ou pas, c'est une décision qui est prise par les États membres et pas la Commission. Ce n'est pas que la Commission a une compétence spécifique dans ce domaine. Nous continuons à insister évidemment sur l'importance de la vaccination et nous assistons les États membres avec les campagnes de vaccination, ça c'est clair. En ce qui concerne les données, j'imagine, David, que tu te réfères au Vaccine Tracker de l'ECDC. Ce Vaccine Tracker est basé sur des données que le ECDC reçoit des États membres. Il y a toujours quelques jours de retard dans le reporting des États membres à l'égard de l'ECDC, ce qui peut expliquer la différence. Il faut savoir que de notre côté, nous sommes aussi en contact avec les États membres et aussi avec les sociétés qui livrent les vaccins. Et donc, c'est sur base de ces contacts que nous sommes arrivés à ces chiffres. Merci.
Merci. Y a-t-il d'autres questions pour Stéphane aujourd'hui? Je n'en vois pas. D'autres sujets pour nous? Ça n'est pas le cas et donc je vous remercie pour votre participation et nous nous verrons demain.